Hello everyone and welcome back to Speak Like a Leader. Today we're going to be looking at your business emails and making sure that you're sending emails with no grammar mistakes. So, you know how I told you in a previous video that a few grammar mistakes here and there don't really matter in verbal communication? Well, that only applies to spoken English, not written English, because unfortunately, in written English, like your emails, reports and presentations, these small little grammar mistakes really stand out. And this is not just a temporary problem, because somebody may forward your email to many other people who will in turn read it carefully and realize that your English skills need some freshening up. So in this series of lessons, we will be touching upon the most common business mistakes my students are making, starting with the use of correct articles, because using the wrong article in an email sentence can confuse your reader and convey a very different meaning to the one that you were supposed to convey. But before we get started, I want to hear from you, because I've thought of a few areas we can cover together, but I would also like to hear what other areas you would like me to cover in my next videos. So what do you think are the most challenging aspects of writing professional emails? A, using the correct articles. B, choosing the right prepositions. C, mastering verb tenses. Or D, anything else? If you do have further difficulties, feel free to share them with me in the comments of this video. I will review your answers and follow up with new videos covering the most popular topics. So which article should we be using in our emails? We have a selection of 4 choices. Either a, an, the, or the zero article, which means using no article, and I think this is the trickiest part. Why don't we start with some theory to understand when we use the article a and an? Let's start with our first rule of when to use a and when to use an with an n at the end. So a is used before a noun that starts with a consonant sound. For example, a strategy, which starts with an S. A target, because it starts with a T. A video, because it starts with a V. Whereas an is used before a noun that starts with a vowel sound like A, O, or I. For example, an apology, an office, an instrument. Is that clear? The second difficulty is to realize whether we need to use the article a or an or the article the. So one easy way to remember this is the first time you mention or refer to a noun, you use a. For example, I received a proposal from a client yesterday, and it's a proposal because it's the first time I'm mentioning this proposal. Can you believe the proposal outlines a 20% increase in revenue? Now, in the second sentence, I'm going to use the because it's the second time I'm mentioning the proposal, because now it is clear which proposal I'm referring to. It's the specific proposal that I mentioned above. We also use the article a or an if we want to name a member of a group. For jobs, for example, I'm a manager at a tech startup. For nationalities also, he's an American entrepreneur. Another time we use a instead of the is when we also mean one thing. For example, from all my meetings today, so I had lots of meetings, I had an interesting meeting, so one interesting meeting with the younger investors who proposed innovative ideas. You will also use a or an if you want to quantify something. For example, a little bit of. We need a little bit of data analysis to finalize the report. Or a lot of. There are a lot of opportunities for growth in this sector. And a ton of. We have a ton of work to do before the deadline. Now let's move on to the article the, When do we use the instead of a or an? So as mentioned before, the first time we mention something, we use the article a, but the second time you mention or refer to a noun, you use the article of the. Let's see another example. I received an email from a client yesterday. That's the first mention of this client. Can you believe the client says we have to complete everything by tomorrow? Now it's the client because it's the second time I'm mentioning the client and it is clear which client I'm referring to. We also use the article the when there is just one of something. For example, I show you the company's showroom. There's only one showroom. You will find all documents in the department's cabinet. We will be meeting in the hotel's conference room because the hotel only has one conference room. You will also use the when you want to define a specific person, object, or place. I loved the report the team submitted last week. Not just any report, but specifically the one that was submitted last week. I think I'll use the presentation we created on Friday. Not just any presentation, but the one that we created on Friday. We will also use the article the with things that are unique. For example, the CEO of our company will be giving a presentation. The marketing manager wants to launch with a party. The letter of resignation was signed by John. Let's not forget ordinal numbers and superlatives. For example, she was the first to present her findings. The first to present her findings. Or this is the best strategy we've implemented. So the first, the best, always take the article the. And lastly, let's talk about natural landmarks and countries. So when we're indicating rivers, like the Thames, we will use the article the. Mountain ranges, the Himalayas. Oceans, the Atlantic Ocean. And now be very, very, very careful with countries because this is a common mistake that many of my students make. The article the is only used for countries that either have initial letters or are in the plural form. So the US, the UK, the Netherlands. Now let's look at the zero article as we call it, and these are situations where you don't need to use any article. You don't use a, an, or the. So you don't need any article when you want to talk about things in general, all things everywhere. For example, I love attending conferences in general. It's a huge mistake to say I love attending the conferences, and I see that a lot. Okay, so we're talking about all conferences everywhere, not just one specific conference. So if you wanted to say, I love attending the Nevada conference, then obviously you would put the because it's a specific conference, but here we're talking about all conferences. As mentioned before, do not use any article with countries. Let me remind you, the only countries that take articles are the ones that are written with initials or are in plural form, like the US, the UK, and the Netherlands. With all other countries, we use a zero article. So he's from Japan. Have you visited Italy? The same thing applies with languages. She speaks Spanish fluently, not she speaks the Spanish fluently. Okay. When you're referring to meals, also do not use any article. Say, I usually have lunch at noon. Or in an email, you could say, I'd like you to join me for dinner at this restaurant. We'll meet for breakfast in the hotel lounge if, for example, you're in a conference. Also be careful with people's names and titles. Those don't have an article either. For example, Mr. John will join us for the meeting. Also possessive pronouns. My, yours, do not take articles. For example, my presentation is ready. What about uncountable nouns? Let me remind you that uncountable nouns are the nouns that do not change in their plural form. Okay, so I love using software to improve efficiency. The noun software is the same in singular and plural form, so it's an uncountable noun and it doesn't need an article. Okay, not I love using the software. I love using software to improve efficiency. Lastly, the zero article applies to specific mountains, lakes, and islands. For example, I hiked up Mount Everest, and most cities, towns, streets, and airports. I flew into London last week. We met at Times Square. Now let's move into our exercise where you're going to have to find the missing article. So we have some gaps that we have to fill in. Let's look at number 1. Please send report to the marketing department. Does this sentence require an article? Yes, the article is the. Please send the report to the marketing department. The is used because it refers to a specific report that is known to both the sender and the recipient. Let's go to number 2. Our company is looking for innovative solution to improve customer service. What's the article here? The article is an. Our company is looking for an innovative solution to improve customer service. An is used here because innovative starts with a vowel sound and it refers to any one solution that is innovative. Let's go to number 3. I attended conference on cybersecurity last month. Does this require an article? Yes, it does. I attended a conference on cybersecurity last month. A is used because it refers to any one conference and it's the first mention of it. Number 4. Can you provide me with update on the project? What's the missing article? An. Can you provide me with an update on the project? An is used because update starts with a vowel sound and refers to any one update, not a specific one. Number 5. Feedback from our clients is essential for growth. What's the missing article? The. The is used because it refers to specific feedback that is known in the context of the conversation. So the feedback from our clients is essential for growth. Let's move on to number 6. We need to schedule a meeting to discuss our strategy. Do we need an article? Yes, we do. We need to schedule a meeting to discuss our strategy. A is used here because it refers to any meeting and also it is the first mention of it. Very good. Number 7. She is expert in data analytics and will lead the workshop. What's the missing article? An. She is an expert in data analytics. An is used because expert starts with a vowel sound and refers to any expert. Number 8. I've written email to the client regarding their concerns. And the missing article is again an. I've written an email because email starts with a vowel sound and refers to any one email. Number 9. They're launching new product line next quarter. Do we need an article? The missing article is a. They are launching a new product line next quarter. A is used because it refers to any new product line and it's the first mention. And number 10, CEO emphasized importance of teamwork during the presentation. So we have 2 gaps here. What are the missing articles? The CEO emphasized the importance of teamwork during the presentation. The is used twice here. The first the refers to the specific CEO known in the context, and the second the refers to the specific importance that is being discussed. And there you have it. Understanding and using articles correctly in your business emails is essential for presenting yourself as a polished professional. By mastering these rules, you not only enhance the clarity of your communication, but also boost your credibility in the workplace. Remember, each email you send is a reflection of your skills, so taking the time to get it right will pay off in the long run. Now, before we wrap up, don't forget to complete the exercise we discussed today to reinforce what you've learned. If you found today's lesson helpful, make sure to like this video and subscribe to watch part 2 of this series, where we will be covering the correct use of prepositions in your business emails. Thank you for joining me today. Keep practicing and keep emailing.